This routine is one that is fairly new to me, but I'm so excited about. It's called Between Two Numbers. There's a link for you there, and on Fawn Wynn's Twitter handle if you want to follow her. And so the website already has tons of images, tons of numbers for you. That means less work for you and more thinking that the kids are going to be doing. And I'm going to do my best at taking what Fawn has and doing it in a way that works for online. So let's give it a whirl. Join me on slide 7. This is just some really interesting numbers, some facts. And while I know in the primary grades, fractions aren't necessarily as robust as they are in elementary, I know that kids really work with that idea of 1/2 and seeing where a half is. And so I thought it was neat to put in some other information about ants. And slide 8 is where we're actually going to begin our routine. And these are real numbers. These aren't none of those made up mathy numbers that you sometimes get in word problems and you're like, buys 47 watermelons. So these are real numbers. The average first grader's foot measures 7.5 inches long. A carpenter ant measures something inches long. And the question here is, how many ants in a line are the same length as a first grader's foot? Now, if we use the numbers between two numbers routine, we wouldn't necessarily have this little cloud, but because I'm working with adults, I wanted to kind of spice it up a little bit. So think about that. And slide 9 is where you're going to post your estimate. Just find any little colored box that you like. It's going to be yours. If we line those little ants up, how many do you think it would be to be a first grader's foot? And as a little classroom management tip, my students are usually assigned a color so they know exactly where they type. There's no confusion, and every time they see that color, that's right where they type. So let's start off first with this one in purple. Somebody wrote 14. If that was you, I'm interested in what went on in your brain to come up with the number 14.
Hi, Teresa. It's Raha. So I kind of did what my kids do all the time. They kind of estimate using their eyes or their hands, and they'll be like, oh, how many of them would kind of line up next to each other? And then I kind of just counted by twos. And I got about 12, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. That's like exactly a foot. So then I was like, okay, the closest even number in my brain is 14. And so I went with 14.
Tell me about the even number part.
So I like to use even numbers when I'm kind of estimating something. Just makes my heart happy. So when I estimated it was about 12, I went to the next even, which was 14.
Neat.
And I also didn't want to deal with with fractions. When you do odd numbers, there's a fraction involved. So I just wanted to round it to the whole number.
Ah. Neat way of using even. Speaking of odd number, let's hear from someone who did an odd. This light blue one has 15. If that was you, would you turn on your mic and just tell us, why did you pick 15? What was your brain doing?
Looking at 7.5, I thought maybe put the half aside. So then visually, looking at how many halves that I can count all the way to 7, and then that would be 14. Then I wanted to do something about 1/2, and then I just went one more, if that makes sense.
It really does. So we have two different ways on here. We have Raha's way in purple, where she kind of lined some things up and used imagery. We have Lily's way of kind of putting that half aside. What I'm going to ask is if your way was very similar to either Raha's or Lily's, that you move your little text box underneath whosever's, that yours was like, yeah, mine was just like that. And if it was different, keep it right where it is. So now I've got purposeful listening, intention to decide, which one it's similar to. And we have a couple other people who are identifying that theirs is maybe different, that they didn't do what the previous ones had said. So if you were 17, would you tell us what you did? Oh, I think maybe 17 might be moving theirs. If you did something different, go ahead and let us know. And if you were the 15 in orange, would you tell us what you did?
Yeah, hi Teresa. This is Soumya. Yeah, I did it actually. Now that I'm listening to other people, mine seems so tame. I just remembered that you showed us that carpenter ant was half an inch. And so when it was 7.5 inches long, I said it's 15 carpenter ants. That's it.
So what did your brain do to go from 7.5 to 15?
I don't even know. I'm not sure I know. What did it do? It's half. So I mean, when I see the half and the 7.5, I know it has to be a double. So then I just go to 15. That's it. I don't think I have anything more helpful than that.
So you did doubling 7, and that.
Half.
Oh, and a
7.5.
half. So you didn't break it apart. You just said double 7.5
No.
is 15. Perfect.
Yeah.
Lovely. And I did put that up there. So let's go ahead and take out this little bubble. You may have seen it from before. A carpenter ant indeed is half an inch long. And another strategy that sometimes students might do is on slide 10, because things are so interactive, they might have actually lined them up. And here we've got them lined up on slide 10 if you wanted to kind of explore that one there. Yeah, so that's our routine. And I've posted the directions for what I did on slide 11 if you want to implement this again and remember what I had done. First, you visualize it. You show the 2 images, and then you numerize it. You find a way to put numbers with it. Students will estimate it, and then we calculate together what are different ways that we could find that relationship between 2 things. And so this will bring us not only in the primary grades where we are counting how many non-standard units fill up an object, but it'll bring us into the middle school grades where we're really talking about proportional reasoning. So this is something that's important in primary, elementary, and middle.